Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Um, I have some stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and I have some notes again. Uh, so let me just first start this up, and then we'll get started. I have my fan down here, but I don't need it anymore. Okay. All right. So let me just look at my notes here. Okay. So basically, what is happening in Washington D.C.? What is happening? And let's have a conversation about this. When we first ask, um, so I plugged the question into Gemini here, and that's Google's AI, and I plugged the question into Gemini here, and I asked Gemini, why is Trump taking control of DC police? That is all I asked. And the answer I got is as follows: President Donald Trump announced he is taking control of Washington, D.C.'s police department and deploying the National Guard to address what he describes as a crime emergency. That's in quotes. Um, so he has invoked a provision of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act to justify this action. So this is what we're seeing happening right now, and that's probably what everybody's doing. That's probably why they're not in here. They're watching that stuff. So I also have an input. I also have some input on this, and you guys kind of know that we've been talking about stuff like this. Um, where it's sort of obvious that we see the barricading, we see the increased use of excessive force and stuff like that. Not just in DC, but like sort of like maybe as a generalization, at least I certainly have seen that go up recently with a lot of the reports and stuff that I've been watching. Um, so let's have an intelligent conversation again about this and some other things. We're not going to have an 8-hour stream. We're not going to do that. But we're going to have an intelligent conversation about this and about some things. So, basically, as this states, let me just keep going through this here. All right, key points of the announcement. All right, key points of the announcement include basis for the action. The administration cites a crime emergency and the need to restore order. Trump has stated that he believes crime is out of control and is also focused on the removal of homeless encampments. So I don't, I'm going to interject right there and just say I don't understand the purpose of that. Because, again, like, why would you just, like, they're homeless. Why would you... Does it... Doesn't make any sense. Um... And I don't back anybody's agenda to implicitly just get rid of things that would help homeless. Yeah, like that's messed up. Let's continue here. Um, this comes after a recent high-profile attack on a former administration staffer in the city. Hmm. So I can't like that statement. That's so. This comes after a recent high-profile attack on a former administration staffer in the city. Okay, so that is a cause for alarm, for investigation, for that stuff. Like pretty normal stuff, I think. But um, crime emerges. I just again like we've seen the reports. Hold on, let me just pull this up. There are reports on this where we can actually see that the crime rates are actually lower. Like lower than they've been. Other people are looking this up too. It says violent crime this year has decreased by 26%. And that's Google. That's Google's AI breakdown, but again, like that's them using the internet to compile that. Like, so anyway, I'm not gonna focus too much on that, but yeah, like it looks like violent crime is down by 26%. Um, Carjacking is down 37%. Like that's a lot, I think. Like that, like just to sit here and do this to justify it over that, it's unwarranted. So again, like we just now we're able to see how that was unwarranted. So this doesn't make any sense to me. So let me continue on here. Legal authority. The action is based on Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, which allows the president to take control of the Metropolitan Police Department in special conditions of an emergency nature for federal purposes. This authority can last for up to 30 days without congressional approval. So he can do this for 30 days, and he's going to need them to extend it, which they will do. Well, actually, I don't know that he will anymore, because remember they gave him... They're just like, oh yeah, you can supersede us. Local government response. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser and other local officials have pushed back against the move. They argue that the crime has actually been on the decline, as I said, and the president's characterization of the city is hyperbolic and false. That's in quotes. They have also expressed concerns of the assault on the DC Home Rule and the effectiveness of the use of National Guard for local law enforcement. Yeah, I've expressed concern over that too, because I don't think, again, that's what law enforcement is for. So, anyway, uh, deployment of federal personnel. In addition to the National Guard, hundreds of federal law enforcement officers from agencies such as the FBI, ATF, DEA, and U.S. Marshals are being deployed to patrol the city. Wow. Like, this is a lot of these are a lot of resources, I think, just being wasted on, like, is Trump afraid he's getting gonna get assassinated again or something? Like, it just seems so random. Like we already covered the fact that it's saying right here this comes after a recent high-profile attack on the former administration staff in the city, but we already covered that. Again, that's normally handled by investigation, law enforcement, and yeah, ramping things up a little bit more, but all that, again, in addition, I'm going to read this again, deployment of federal personnel, in addition to the National Guard, hundreds of federal law enforcement officers from agencies such as the FBI, ATF, DEA, and U.S. Marshals are being deployed to patrol the city. Oh my goodness. The Home Rule Act of 1973, it goes on, it defines that, of 1973 granted D.C. residents the ability to elect their own local government, including a mayor and city council, but Congress and the president still retains significant oversight and authority of the district. Right. So, I think, and we have, I think, I heard this on Midas Touch. Thank you, Midas Touch. I want to mention them. Good channel. Apparently Trump was trying to get on the roof of the White House too to talk to people. I think this is very dictator-like. I think he's trying to continue reaching out. I think that a lot of the Russian influence and stuff like that, I think they're still working together behind the scenes. I think that's actually happening. And I think that, you know, we have to consider the fact that, you know, again, Trump has shown us that he wants to be a dictator. He's doing that. He's slowly trying to do that, and he's trying to get on the roof of the White House. The Secret Service is like, well, it's a security risk, obviously. And so, like, he just wants to do these things. He wants, again, I mentioned Midas Touch. This is from them, so thank you. Like, he's talking about, apparently wanting to put nukes on the roof or something. That's insane. This guy has done this plenty of times before, where he's mentioned plenty of times before, like, remember when he talked about rigging the election, and then again, that's basically what he's trying to do now. He actually mentioned this before. He's like, don't worry, in a few years, we're going to have it rigged so you never have to vote again. He actually said this, and a lot of us have been calling it out and trying to warn everybody, but nobody that were Republicans seemed to care, because that's who needs to care. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? Those are the people in government backing him and allowing him to do this. They have to care. So, you have to make them care. So if you vote Republican or something like that, they might listen to you. But again, that's how you can make a difference. Again, it is sort of a flawed system. It really, really is. But it becomes less flawed and more manageable the more the people actually speak to their senators and their representatives about what they actually want, instead of just complaining about everything all the time. So, for a long time, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, where there's this stigma that if you are supportive of Donald Trump, you're a Republican, And if you're against Donald Trump, that you're a liberal or a Democrat or something like that. And you have to break the stigma of putting these labels on people and labels on things like that, where not everybody is like that. Like there are people like that, yes, but I think that again, that is the propaganda that confuses people, and that is the intelligence that you can draw from that, is that if they know that you implicitly just pick somebody, doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's Republican, all they gotta do is pick a guy that's, you know, really charismatic. Doesn't matter what he does. Like that's the point. Like there's so many people proven that they'll follow somebody like a cult following who's done all these things that he shouldn't do and then taking credit for them. Just like what Obama said, if he would have done any of those things, you know, if he would have done even a single one of those things, he would have heard about it. He would have never heard the end of it. Anything that Trump does. And, you know, that's the point. Like, Obama was the one that had all those things in place that were successful, that were helping, that were doing things, and systematically everything starts falling back apart as Trump starts undoing all of that stuff. And that's not a liberal democratic mindset. That's me simply looking up what Trump is actually doing with these executive orders when he signs them versus what he tells you he's doing. You can look it up. And, you know, again, me looking up then what Obama did when he was in office and looking up the stuff he signed in there. Seeing the records, seeing the actual things. Like, nobody does this. Do you read the actual executive order itself, or do you read an article? And so this is the point. Like, that's what Trump did, and that's what he's always did. He's the facade that, you know, brings out pro wrestlers and stuff like that. You know, I mean, there needs to be enough of him that he doesn't need to do that. You know, if he feels the need that he's starting to bring out pro wrestlers, right? He's starting to bring out pro wrestlers, starting to bring out all these people that are like comedians and stuff like that, just to win you over. What has he ever done? Except all the stuff that you constantly say that he's doing, that he's not doing. And then he's doing this. He's barricading himself in with police. So, what's happening in Washington, D.C.? Trump is using an old act from literally 50 years ago, literally 52 years ago, to barricade himself in the White House, because again, he's acting like a dictator and he's scared of what the people are doing. And he's scared. That says something. Why else is he doing that? What's the real reason? I don't see a single solitary real reason for him to do that. And if there was really a threat, an assassination threat, they would just say that. So, um, let me also tell you guys that I did look something up again to remind myself. Okay, I was actually right, and I think I did this before too. Didn't I do this before? I did this before because Asmongold does this to you. So let me just talk a little bit about him, not in a negative way, but let me just talk a little bit about him, okay? Because I have mentioned him a lot, and I don't want anybody to think that I hate the guy or anything. I literally don't. It's not how I don't hate anybody. So, um, like if I ran into him, I'd probably be like, you know, just like anybody else, like, absolutely, I'd feel honored to meet him. Like it wouldn't go probably how you think. Like I literally would just respect that and be nice because he deserves it. But the point is, yeah, we disagree on stuff, and the issue is that he has a really huge number of people to watch him, actually all over the world now, and that has influence, unfortunately. They like listen to what he says, and he doesn't ask for that. So that's why I have to give him that. Essentially, you need to understand he didn't ask for that. He just wants to have opinions and wants to be honest about what they are and state them. If you don't agree, that's it. Case closed. I feel the same way. I am very similar to him, except that obviously he likes the guy and I don't. And I've called out certain things where it seemed like he was doing something a certain way, and I said it seemed like he was doing something a certain way and stuff like that. I can say that. Like that is me and my right on my channel, and he can comment on it. The fact that he hasn't means he knows what I'm doing. It means that he knows that if he comments, I'm going to get some views. So he's not saying anything, and again, I'm not going on his channel and giving him beef or anything. I have no disrespect. I just truthfully want to call out some of that stuff where I see the guy like kind of doing certain things that might not be necessarily great, and his mods or somebody should say something, but great for that whole overall image and stuff like that. He can still maintain his image just fine without my suggestions, but the whole point is at least to just say it and offer that, and if he wants to comment, he can comment, he can take the advice or leave it, and it is what it is. I'm just offering it because I notice the similarities in a lot of the other people that I've talked to, that think exactly like he does, and I know why they are confused about the guy and stuff like that, and it's just a way of thinking, and then like as soon as there's a couple of points that you start to kind of come to understanding, you just look at them a certain way and you stop and you realize it. Now I think that some people use what he does as like Trump as like a sales pitch, sales tactic and stuff like that, and some people look at this as this is where we need to decipher what is ethically correct about sales. Okay? And so when you look at sales, you'll take a look at a salesman that just is still going to make a certain amount off of what he's selling, right? He's going to get a commission or something like that. He owns the product or whatever he's selling, right? So what you want to realize is that some people that are salesmen aren't ethically like that, and they sort of get to a certain point where if they take advantage of somebody with a sale, they learn how to do it, and they sort of do it again, do it again, do it again. And it's the sort of thing where they just become this scammer that is literally, instead of getting what they need, they're now charging too much for product. Where it's insane. You don't need that much. You're charging too much. You know it. But the people need that product. They want it. They really, really want it, or something like that. So you're gonna sit there and you're gonna charge what you charge, because you know supply and demand. They need that product or whatever it is that they're buying. They're gonna buy it anyway. So you're gonna charge that. I think that this has absolutely happened clearly to the gaming industry, but it's also happened on a like capitalistic bigger scale where everybody thinks this is okay. And you need to kind of backpedal a little bit and realize that that's kind of what that generation you're kind of trying to call woke is saying about everything. That you're letting yourself get carried away and just taking advantage of people. And you don't see it as wrong because you see it as a sales pitch like this other thing. And you just relate it to everything else in your life, and you're just like, oh, no, it's how I get ahead, and you just rationally. No, you don't use people to get ahead. You help people to get ahead. And then they come back because you helped them. And there's repeat business, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends. It's called paying it forward. Now, you can boast profits sometimes when you need to, but don't sit here and do more than you need, because then you're just taking advantage of people. And that's where I will always disagree with that corporate capitalistic greed. That, I mean, geez, if you buy a loaf of bread at 50 cents, why is it $3? Why? That's absurd. 50 cents and you're charging $3. That's your profit. Oh. I would have been even fine if you said $2. Maybe like $2.25 is pushing it. Because you bought it at 50 cents. Let's say what you need to pay your employees and need to make off of it, you've made back more so by even charging $1. But now you're going up to $3. Like, let's say that's what it is, You need to make back what you made back, to pay the employee, to pay the whatever. And that's maybe like $1, $1.25, whatever. So $2, you're still making plenty of profit off that. And times are tough, so you boost it up a little bit. But $3? Man, it's probably worse than that. Yeah, it's probably worse than that. That's probably an exaggerated analogy. So the point is actually not exaggerated enough. I'm sorry, that's probably not exaggerated enough. The point is, you get it. Like, if you are already making something and making back what you need to buy that product and then support the business and still put money in your pocket, why are there so many rich people walking around? You know what I'm saying? And then you start rationalizing, you start putting it together. They're getting tax cuts and stuff like that when we should get the tax. Like, we have been paying so much in taxes, and then they pay less of a percentage. They should pay the same amount, at least, the same percentage at least. People paying taxes should pay at least the same percentage as somebody paying it that's the middle class. Why? That's absurd. And that's what they're doing. That's what this last thing, that's this tax bill did, is it then further cut taxes for the rich. That's what it did. It further cut taxes for the rich. And I've talked about this before, but it's a pretty basic concept of understanding that we can give the same analogy, but the point is, it would be like if you bought the same thing at the grocery store as somebody else, and the other person, because they're rich and they appear to be rich, they were charged less in taxes, in sales taxes, than you were. Like that's the analogy. Like, essentially, you paid more for your total bill, but they had the same item as you, and they paid a lot less as their total bill because, again, they were rich. How does that make sense? They have more money, so they could pay more for it. And I've given this analogy before. This is exactly like what the Republicans have been doing for a long time to hurt us. And I'm not saying that because I'm picking a side. I'm saying it because that's the truth. The Republicans have been passing those tax bills that have been slashing taxes for the rich and increasing them for you. Not the Democrats. Some Democrats, some very few, signed the bill to get passed, but like for the you know what I mean? Like you have to realize that when they pass these things, they're passing them usually like with majority votes and stuff like that. So like it's not the Democrats, it's majority the Republicans. So every time they're in Congress, it's like nobody's paying attention. So since the start of the stream, the bitrate has been maliciously shifting around, and it has been doing it various times that I mentioned various things. Again, we have a Russian spy that's been causing, again, right after mentioning what was happening last night, it's not, I'm not making this up, the entire YouTube app literally ceased to function on my mobile devices. You guys know that my phone has been getting hacked pretty regularly, actually constantly, and the YouTube app proceeded to not work basically at all, just kept closing. So I then was trying to use an AI app to create some AI images and stuff like that, and then so the bitrate's shifting around as soon as I say that. Take note of that. And the AI app then proceeded to completely break to where it could not access its own server. Any of the posts people made on that app I could not see. And this was conveniently, I had used this app for an entire year. And yeah. And so I'm not gonna say what happened, but it's the sort of thing where, it's very easy to tell what they're doing. And so this then happened with, what else did it happen with? There's a couple other things that I was using on my phone where basically systematically they were just shutting down the apps on my phone. And so, I reported this. I gave an absolute 1-star review for the app for being so easily breached. And again, I had used this for an entire year. Never had this problem. And then just bam. Completely useless. and then all as I'm again, remember the mobile connections for my device are constantly connected. Remember that. I turn off my mobile connections in my settings and by the manual buttons, and they're still connected. And even when the wireless signal cycles all the way down to nothing, it's still connected. That should not be happening. That is a phone hack. And I found last night on the stream the person that's been doing all of this, who went into hiding, and I was talking about it, and I gave you their name. So that's all that happened. And now they're attacking me extremely maliciously because I revealed they are a Russian. And they have been attacking my entire family, doxing us on this platform, and again, doing this all from Russia. And again, I found his profile last night after he moved all this stuff off of his page and changed his name back and stuff like that. If you remember, we did find it, and I recalled the name and stuff like that, and then conveniently, after recalling the name of the channel that he changed it to, conveniently it was somebody with, like, that game that he played, and it was all the Russian titles that he used to write on there, and, that's the point. He would never have any photos of himself, but it does say he's from Russia now and stuff like that. Oh, hey, 365, I didn't see you, man. So, that happened, that actually happened. And so, basically, he's behind the scenes, and he's trying really hard, but any of you that had any issues with your phones, where your phone started, like, slightly losing signal and stuff like that, where like, basically, he's trying to get you to hold your phone up so he can see your face. I don't know why, but I'm just letting you know. That's what he's doing. And these guys are from Russia. I think they're trying to get money from Putin. I think that, like, they take trips to the Kremlin and, like, try to report things on us and, like, get on his good side and stuff like that. I had the bitrate shifting around very maliciously as I say that. Very, very maliciously as I say that. So I had a lot of Russians in my chat a while back, and they had mentioned that they had made it slip that they weren't even really technically supposed to be able to watch my stream. And conveniently, after Trump comes in office, all the Russians can watch my streams. So that's the problem. The problem is Russia. If Russians are watching your streams, it's unencrypted, and this is going to happen. Because they're watching your stream. That's it. Because all the scammers and all the hackers and all that stuff like all that stuff that's going on over there because of that war, that's happening. Because Putin doesn't do anything to actually manage that stuff for his country. He's a terrible leader. So again, we discovered that last night, and he got really, really triggered and sort of disappeared, and we really called it out. We were able to sit there and screenshot and kind of sort of prove that he acted a certain way. He was like spamming stuff, spamming messages. He was feeling all confident, and as soon as I called out that I found his channel and about him being Russian, it was like so quick he started deleting those messages. It was so quick. It was like so immediate, and like there was just it was like too obvious, and he disappeared, and so like it was just about trying to come back today and realize that he made a dummy. It was like durr, but no, he's just coming back today and trying to. No, he's Russian, and I know. I revealed his name on that stream last. That is who he is. So just so you guys know, you see the bit rate shifting around. That's why we didn't have any concurrence at the start too. So he's trying to affect whether we get any traffic in here and anybody sees the stream. So we are trying to talk about what's happening in DC, and I'm sorry that you came into that. But yeah, I just thought you should know 365 that if anybody had any issues and stuff like that, there's a real good chance. Like I flat out saw that he was doing this to my apps, and can conveniently, the signal would go down and completely deplete, and the emergency call thing and stuff like that. All that stuff's conveniently, aggressively happening right around when I'm trying to use that, you know. And so, like, it's just obvious to see what's going on. And like I said, I used the whole thing for an entire year before that and didn't have that issue. And so conveniently after last night, where he's like really struggling to so yeah. Anyway, what's going on in DC? So let's recap here. Let's recap. President Donald Trump announced he is taking control of Washington, D.C.'s police department, deploying the National Guard to address what he describes as a crime emergency. He has invoked a provision of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act to justify this action. The administration cites a crime emergency and the need to restore order. Trump has stated that he believes crime is out of control and is focusing on the removal of homeless encampments. This comes after a recent high-profile attack on a former administration staffer in the city. And my point to this was just that if you have something like that happen, then yeah, like, investigations are done. The people that are there for that will do that. But I don't understand all this. So let's read this. Deployment of federal personnel. In addition to the National Guard, hundreds of federal law enforcement officers from agencies such as the FBI, ATF, DEA, and U.S. Marshals are being deployed to patrol the city. Hundreds! That much nastiness. So let me just let me see what's going on here. This was live. Let me just pull this up.
We don't have senators or full autonomy. Limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. I've said before, and I'll repeat, that I believe that the president's view of D.C. is shaped by his COVID-era experience during his first term. And it is true that those were more challenging times related to some issues. It is also true that we experienced a crime spike post-COVID.
Why is my bitrate shifting around maliciously? Is it because 365 is in the stream, proving he's in the stream, and you're trying to lock it at 0 concurrence? Yes.
But we work quickly to put laws in place and tactics that got violent offenders off our streets and gave our police officers more tools, which is why we have seen a huge decrease in crime because of those efforts. We have been able to reverse that 2023 crime spike. This year, crime isn't just down from 2023, it's also down from 2019, before the pandemic, and we're at a 30-year violent crime low.
So you hear that? We talked about that earlier, and I actually looked some stuff up, where I even said, yeah, like it even says right here that crime is lower, and we can see those numbers, and then that's what she's saying right there too. This is Muriel Bowser speaking. It says. So that's the mayor of Washington D.C. speaking there. There's a lot of stuff on this right now. So the bitrate is aggressively shifting around, just noting that for the investigation team. Yep, and then when I refresh, if you notice when I refresh the count is higher than it was. So it was definitely to do that. It was definitely to lie about that. So yeah, I'm just looking at some stuff here, trying to figure out what's going on with this. So apparently there's like they're having a trial about this like right now, right? Hold on. Thought they called like some emergency sort of thing about this. Hold on. Let's see. Now, here we go. Here's something. Here's something. Yeah, it's what I said earlier. Other people are saying the same thing, 30-day. And that's what I said too, where like there is a time limit on it, but I think he's gonna try to, you know, how he prior to this got Republicans in Congress to agree to, you know, supersede him. I'm sorry, give him the power to supersede them. So this is interesting. I really think that he is trying to do this as a way to fortify his place in the White House when he loses the election. I don't think this is in any way related to this. I really think that he knows the election's coming up. It is. He knows that. He knows that he is facing the lowest polling numbers of any president in history except for himself. yeah. And he's dangerously close to those polling numbers too. It is unconstitutional. Thank you, 365. It is. He's not allowed to do it. So we talked about this earlier. Legal authority. The action is based on Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, and that's of 1973. And it allows the president to take control of the Metropolitan Police Department in special conditions of an emergency nature for federal purposes. The authority can last for up to 30 days. So this is what we discussed earlier. I know they're shifting the bit rate around. They're trying to break up what I'm saying, kick you out of the stream. This is that Russian stalker that I talked about. He does this all the time. Again, it is being investigated, and he will He will be raided. Yeah, he's just gonna get raided. So it's gonna happen, but you know, it's just taking time. So anyway, he's really maliciously doing it now. So if you're still in here, 365, we'll talk about this still. He's very maliciously doing this. So we'll just give it here a minute. Yeah, so this is the again, this is section 740 and of the Home Rule Act of 1973. Okay? And this allows him it allows the president to take control of the Metropolitan Police Department in special conditions of an emergency for federal purposes. The authority can last for up to 30 days without congressional approval. And what I had mentioned was that prior to this, Trump had gotten Congress to give him the power to supersede them. So essentially, I don't know, man. I really think he's trying to figure out a way to do this permanently because he knows the election's coming up. So yeah, like it technically, except I agree it's unconstitutional because crime rate is lower. There's no evidence of anything that he's presented here, you know, the emergency. And again, one thing doesn't constitute that because you just investigate that the same way you do anything else with the police. So again, that's not him, that's them. So it's right in line with Trump where he's backed into a corner and he takes over more control. It's exactly what we saw where I was in that stream yesterday and I was telling you this is where we came from, and I was pointing to the picture of Obama holding hands with everybody. And that's where he came from. And then I showed you the video of Trump in another country shoving world leaders out of the way and then fixing his suit and putting his chin up so he could be in front of... Yep. And he is maliciously shifting the rate around to try to affect the stream and the trending. Yesterday, again, this happened. We would have had thousands yesterday. And in the last 2 hours of that stream, this person was sitting there removing views live. Subtracting views. And then in the last 2 hours, we didn't gain anything over a few concurrents. Even though the rest of the stream, we had double digits. Like the whole time, we had so many. And then, they started lying about the watch time hours. It was like 28 seconds. Even though we did an 8-hour stream where there was basically 0 times that there was 0 concurrence. So why was it that? So that's why they did that in the last 2 hours. And again, even doing that, it raised the watch time average. Yep. And so that proves, again, it should have been way higher. So they're literally, this person, this Russian scammer is lying to YouTube's system about my watch time hours and about how much you guys are in the stream. That's why your view isn't counting, and that's why the bitrate's shifting around. He's removing that and all evidence of it. That's That's why sometimes we sit in the stream and it's not counting. It just doesn't count. Yeah, you know why he does this, right? So the Russians are trying to use chemical warfare to unalive people. So he's trying to figure out what I'm drinking, probably. Yeah, like there's all kinds of reasons you can justify why he's sitting here clipping the stream at various times and to like send it to places. You know what I'm saying? Or post it somewhere or something. You have to realize that's how bad it is in Russia. Where they're doing anything they can because those people are poor too. But again, they're just attacking us. And we got nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with how things are in Russia. We have stayed out of Russia. We have nothing to do with Russia. Like I said, that picture that I showed you guys yesterday of Clinton and Bush, George H.W., standing behind Putin at Boris Yeltsin's funeral in Russia shows a stark picture of difference between leadership. Okay, Trump is a loser. He's the loser. And he knows it. And, you know, the point is, this person that's now shifting the bitrate around all over the place to affect my traffic, for me saying Trump is a loser, Trump is a loser, Trump is a loser, Trump is a loser, to affect the traffic after I say Trump is a loser, because he knows that that's what he's doing. He's trying to prevent the people from coming in here that would otherwise know that I'm talking about Trump in that context. So then he starts getting the people in here instead, where it's the opposite only. And that's how he's doing what he's doing. That's why that's all I get. Because he's doing that. The very second I say anything against Trump, that's why it happens so often. Because he's doing that. And that's why it's terrorism. And that's why this guy is being investigated by the CIA. He is in Russia. Oh, yeah. And I gave you his name yesterday. So have fun with that. But, regardless of that, and me calling that out, I also wanted to talk about something else really quick. While we're here too. Now, we're going to still continue to talk about what's happening in DC, but let me just talk about how, again, the whole thing with like asthma and stuff like that. So I was right originally. Did I say this earlier? Let me say it again. I was right about it being Kamala. And he just so regularly, I know I started getting other stuff. He just so regularly, literally, like, he just trolls everything he says. And this is the part where we take what happens to people on this platform because of scammers in other countries and stuff like that. Because they don't understand how the platform works. And these people sit here and they play little psychological war games with people. And they make you think that YouTube's shifting your bitrate around because you can't say this or you can't do that because Russians can't do that. So Russians come in here and start screwing around with you because they can't do it. So they find out how different it is in other countries, in this country. So they're just screwing around with you. And so basically, again, you come on here and it's this cutthroat where you have that going on and you have Asmongold and anybody that matters. Stop shifting my bitrate. Bitrate's maliciously shifting around. Stop doing it. Stop. So you have Asmongold, and Asmongold literally just everything, like a lot of the stuff that he says is very trolling on purpose, and he knows it. And he sees that as like some sort of emotional woke thing where she needs to have her name be said right or something like that. That's how he's going to look at it. So that's why he does that. But I think that's really not a very responsible way to look at that, because in my point of view, all the kids and stuff and people that grow up that want to go into law or wanted to go into politics or those types of professions now aren't looking at that professional, that very experienced professional at that job, the way that they should. They're looking at her like a joke because he's making her that joke. And she's not. She's very smart. She got to where she is because she's very smart. So, she's probably one of the smartest people in politics. So, again, you're really not giving that to her. And so I was always right. I always said her name right initially. It's just because I hear this so much watching Asmon, it's one of those things. And I just accidentally started saying it like that. So I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to like sit here and say her name wrong all that time. And I wanted to say that because, again, I feel like I've done this before too, where it was just somebody's name and I was just saying it wrong or something like that. But it's because of that. And that is how I used to say it. I used to say it like that, and then I would watch him and like, maybe it is that. I should have known, should just realized it. I just thought truthfully it was just saying it. And I thought, and I think I even heard him on a stream once say something like, I'm going to say it like that forever now or something. I thought he was joking. I really didn't think he was actually that much of a jackass. Apparently he is. So, I don't know. Like maybe he just thinks it's great to constantly make a joke of somebody's name and not say it right, but that's literally bullying, dude. That is the definition of it. You go to a job and you call somebody not by their name and not pronounce it right, you're gonna get fired. Somebody's gonna say, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that. You're just choosing, like, unless you, like, actually have, like, a speech impediment. Like, that's a little bit different. You to Tourette's or something. All right, people can understand that. Like, that's different. You actually have a mental, thing that would cause that, then that makes sense. But other than that, no. You don't get that. You don't get to do that. It'd be like when you go to another country, you don't expect to just speak English to them. You expect to speak their language, right? Well, how is this really any different than, relating that to being respectful of somebody's name? Like, it's the same sort of thing. Language, name, like, it's identity stuff. Like, you just be respectful of somebody. So, I don't know. I don't agree with a lot of the way people do things on here, and you get on YouTube to try to talk about that, and people realize it. People realize, oh man, and then they call it woke. They're like, oh, he's the wokest or something, kind of like that or something like that, and they don't realize that that's not what it is. It's people endlessly just calling you out and you never admitting you're wrong. It's literally it's the same thing with Trump. Endlessly calling you out on things and you never admitting you're wrong. That's what I've always said it is with Trump. When, like, people, like, can't win or a debate or something, like, it's literally all that. Every last ounce of it is people not admitting they're wrong. And they just can't do it. It's all it is. Everybody acts like it's, oh, I don't know why. No, it's them. They can't be wrong. And I've talked about this before where it becomes behavioral, where they do it with other things. And they start doing it with other things. And this is the woke thing, where people started just thinking two different ways because no, there's a intelligent, evolved way to continue thinking, and you've done this so long. We've evolved from 2017, and it's like literally 8 years later, and you're still doing the same crap. You haven't evolved to 2025. You're still in 2017. We're in 2025. That's the problem. It's not woke. It's you are living in the past and you want to stay there. That's it. It's not a woke thing. It's not, literally not that. Don't label it as that. Stop doing that. Don't call it anything. You know, you label it as something, now they can dismiss it as that. Now it's a thing. You did that. Don't do that. That's wrong. It's not a thing. It's just a... You realize some stuff. You know, and it's literally just that concept of starting to recognize and accept you're wrong when you're wrong about something. Accepting that this fact is better. This is the better accepted, like, again, for this exact example, what's going on in Washington, D.C. He is wrong to be doing that. The crime rates are low. Doesn't appear to be any real reason for him to do it. He's just doing it. That's wrong. It was wrong of him to accept a plane from Qatar. And it just has a plane sitting around from Qatar. That was wrong. Now, it was wrong of him to sit here and remove the Iran nuclear deal. That was wrong. No, I mean, it was wrong of him to sit here and continue giving tax cuts to people that get paid millions and millions of dollars every year. That was wrong. When Biden signed the peace treaty, and Trump said, "I did that," and he tried to take credit for it, that was wrong. You know, every single time he didn't answer a question in a debate with Hillary and just talked over, he was wrong. Every time he did that, every time he didn't answer a question in the debates and just talked over Hillary Clinton, took more time than he should, Donald Trump was wrong. And the bit rate is maliciously shifting around. Massively shifting around. Because I mentioned Hillary Clinton. Yep, massively shifting around. Take note of that. Every time he did that in a debate against Biden, where he took more time than he should, didn't answer a single question, tried to interrupt Biden, and Biden had to say, "Will you shut up, man?" He was wrong. Every single time that he comes into office and he starts signing executive orders that instead of doing what he's saying they do, they abolish the Environmental Protection Agency. That was wrong. Every time he signs an executive order that really abolishes it, really anything that's we know as a regulatory system to help our country, like the economic stimulus organization Obama had in place, and he just got rid of it. That was wrong. When John McCain had to fly in from a tumor removal surgery to vote no, because he was one of the last Republicans that was sitting here saving you all from what's happening right now, because they tried to overturn universal health care to the point of taking away pre-existing conditions and you losing all your coverage, everybody covered basically, gone, costing more money too in the long run. That was wrong. There's so many things that, again, when you boil it down, I'll sit here all day with a just endless list of things that Trump was wrong about, that he shouldn't have done, that's just wrong. And everybody that supports him defends him. So therefore, you become wrong. Do you not see that? How can you not? How can you not? Alright, let me... There's nothing. It doesn't even understand the question. So, alright. I asked Gemini, how many times has Trump said something that was wrong? And Gemini just immediately just goes, multiple sources indicate that former President Donald Trump has made numerous false or misleading statements. I don't know why it says former. One notable source, the Washington Post fact checker, documented 30,573 misleading claims. God. During his first presidency, his first one, this translates to an average of approximately 21 incorrect claims per day. That's about right, actually. Now that I think about it, that's about right. Other sources say, as the Toronto Star also documented thousands of false claims. The frequency of these claims increased over time from around 6 per day in his first year to 39 per day in his last year in office. Many of these claims were repeated multiple times. It's important to note that different organizations use different methodologies for fact-checking, and thus the exact number of false or misleading statements may vary depending on the source. But confirming that there's still plenty of false statements. Let's ask Gemini how many times Obama has said something wrong. and I just did. That's the point I did. And it didn't immediately answer the same way. It almost acts like it doesn't understand the question. Determining the exact time so Barack Obama has said something wrong is subjective. Yeah, exactly. Like, who's to say he said anything really wrong? Because he doesn't make a habit of lying. He's just lying, just generally speaking. So, like when you just look it up, that's what it's gonna get. Is subjective. Yeah, because he doesn't lie. And then Trump just immediately, 30,573, just pulls that from a source. No other source. Like, there's all these sources saying Obama has all these. Nope. Just right there, and Yeah, like, it says there's times where fact-checking sites have documented instances where Obama's claims didn't align with available data. But that doesn't, like, translate to him directly lying X amount of times, and there's specific examples. I just gave you a huge list. I just stood here and gave you a list. There's all that stuff I was like, it's wrong. That's what I was talking about. And that's what it's talking about, too, is just, there's so many. So, like, you pull something up about Obama and you try to do that, and like, this is how it's like, and like, further down here, it's important to remember that judging a statement as wrong can be influenced by the political perspectives. Except, again, if you're talking about Donald Trump, where he just literally just said something yesterday and then took it back today and said, I didn't say that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about where he would make, like, Nazi-like sort of claims, like Hitler-like claims and stuff like that. And like, did you say this? And then the next day he's like, no, that's fake news. I never said that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about, again, how this guy is unlike any other. Bush never did that crap. The whole point is just making all these falsehoods, just made up. Just have no idea what he's doing. He's getting rid of all this crap, doing all these terrible things. And again, just lying the whole way through. So right there you can see a very definitive answer from Gemini, where it's pretty short too. And that's the whole answer for Trump. I read the whole answer, by the way. For Obama, like, there's several paragraphs where it's like trying to find instances of maybe some times where there was, like, concerns during his speeches and stuff that he didn't get done what he wanted to, or, like, it was not necessarily democratic. Like, he worked with Republicans, so who knows, That's it. Like, literally, he didn't make a habit of lying 30,000 times, or even a few times. Like, it's just, well, what happened? It's like, that's why Obama was successful. It's like, the point was, anytime he had something to say, he got something done. That's it. That's why. And so that's why Trump wanted to do that, too. He wanted to be that guy, too. But no, with Trump, he literally just, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be, but, like, he doesn't do it. He doesn't know how to do it. Because nobody wants to work with him. So, Obama worked with people, Trump doesn't. Calls them, like, losers and stuff like that. So, like, this is how basic it gets with even Gemini, where an AI tool, you need to realize that in the common, in the future world that we live in, an AI tool like this, where you know you have Gemini that can collaborate all this stuff from the internet, all the stuff you can Google and stuff like that, like it's literally right there. So it can just do that really fast for you rather than you trying to look through and sit. It's gonna do it for you. So like again, that's the point. Like, uh, there's no point on me sitting here wasting all this time looking through. No, it's gonna do it for you. So just remember that like sometimes those tools, if you know what to ask, as long as your question is unbiased, you know, like you're asking the right questions, just where I ask here, and then directly compare it to Obama. Okay, that's data. I can use that, and then it literally lists information and citing and stuff like that where it's getting its info from as it gives the answer. So it's important to remember that you know, you need to be able to do that and trust something that, again, like the fact checkers and stuff. This is incredibly hated, and there's all this propaganda about fact checkers because they disprove everything just immediately. No, that didn't happen. Yes, that happened. They research it and prove it. So since all these people, including Trump, are always trying to brainwash people, use psychological warfare tactics, and we don't have as many regulations in this country on that because of Trump and that type of thinking, it's working. And too many people don't realize these things and are sort of like falling into that path of being too locked into you know, an attention span of 3 seconds, and they can't understand, you know, like the way Mitt Romney used to talk. You know, it was super boring, long words and stuff, and then Trump comes along. So like, it's a sales pitch, and it worked endlessly. And that's all it is. It's a facade. And he's that salesman that I just told you about earlier, where he's the one trying to trick you and get the better deal for the rich people. He is not giving a shit about you. So recognize that, the analogy from earlier, the whole salesman analogy from earlier that I gave you too. I don't know. I have stuff to do today, so I'm not going to be on here too much longer. But there is a couple other things I'd like to get to. I watch a couple of creators that I really like, that I would like to tell you about, that I think that you guys should watch. And I am not gonna say them because I want a shout out or recognition, or I don't want that. I just want to I want to shout them out. I want you guys to know. I want you to watch them. I want you to consider their input and their knowledge, and that they are also people with brains that can deliver intelligent conversation too, and intelligent highlights as well. Okay, so I'm gonna just to be 100% that I'm getting the correct channel name, because channel names sometimes change. I'm gonna go on here and look at them to make sure I just say the right name, current name, because like I said, sometimes they do change. Okay. So I like Well, you guys know that I watch Philip DeFranco. You guys know that. I don't. Is that still the name of his channel? That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's still the name of his channel. I think that he is extremely good at putting a story together. Really, really interesting stuff that he covers and talks about, and he's really good at putting it together for you. And he's been around for a long time. I've been following him for a long time, and I think he's really good at it. I think he deserves his own show, like a separate from YouTube. But anyway, he's definitely really good. I know I've mentioned like the Daily Show and Colbert and stuff, but I actually also watch Seth Meyers. I think Seth Meyers is really smart, and I think his humor is really smart too. I think he's one of the best ones at it, if not up there at the tippy top. I watch a channel called Agenda Free TV. He does like news coverage and stuff like that. He's really good at it. I actually really like the fact that he uses real statistics and data. Like, if he does like a weather report or something, he'll sit there and load up like the actual NOAA page and stuff like that. Like, that's smart. I like that. And the fact that I think he actually has his own team too. Like, I'm pretty sure he has his own coverage team and stuff. And so like it's really good stuff. He covered. That's how I knew about the earthquake. I was trying to like let you guys know, because I had found out about it through him, and I was like, oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna tell people, as many people as I can, because you want people to know about that. But yeah, I would highly encourage you to go watch that. Agenda Dash Free Space TV is the name of his channel. Really good channel. He's got a lot of subscribers. Really, really good community. So check him out. Midas Touch. I mentioned them earlier. Midas Touch. I have to. Midas Touch. Midas Touch. Now, he obviously has a preferred side, but he puts good stories together. He's a good one. Good channel. I think he calls himself independent. Oh, okay. Maybe not. Maybe he's not. It says Independent News Network. Oh, pro-democracy, he says. Unapologetically pro-democracy. Respect. Because same, but that doesn't mean that you're a Democrat. This means you support democracy. Republicans just support democracy. It's got working together. It's a democratic republic, man. So yeah. That's enough. I just wanted to give you guys those names. Because they're good channels. They're good creators. especially Steve from Agenda Free. He's really cool. Okay, I have to check my report. I'm sorry. And then we'll get back to this, but see, with me, you're gonna get that. Like I am a centrist. Like I am center of the road. I don't know that I'd say it independent, but center of the road. I like the Democratic Republic. I think it works. But again, I lean conservative. It's just there are no Republicans that I really agree with anymore. They don't support conservative values. That's what we talked about in the stream yesterday. So just wanted to remind you that with me you'll get that centrist view, but it's gonna look liberal because that's what everybody says. It's just not the case. And most people use that word wrong too. Yeah, they do. Just like all the other ones they use wrong, like socialists and stuff like that. So anyway, give me a sec here. Where is... Oh, there it is. That's not it. Where is it? Sorry. I'm looking for... What happened to my... Okay, I gotta be right back. Hey guys. Hello. Hello. All right. So, we are back, obviously. So let me just talk a little bit more about this, and have a bit more, of an intelligent thought here. Um, so he's deploying 800 National Guard troops to the city. 800. And we already know, remember, we already know that he's deploying hundreds of, so like that 800 National Guard, 800. And now he's also deploying hundreds of FBI, ATF, DEA, and U.S. Marshals? Huh? Why? I feel like this is like some sort of agenda where he's like, well, there's all these crime and in the cities, so why don't we just start with DC and everybody will see how great it works and how well it goes, and it's not gonna go like he thinks. Like where he just like forces all this law enforcement into one spot, and then everybody just hides or disappears or goes somewhere else. Like, You think that, like, after that, anything's gonna happen? Nope. Like just doing it out in plain sight. You think, like, that's the whole point. This is why, like, he's showing the rest of the world that, yes, he is gonna show you exactly what he's gonna do, and you'll be able to see it. He's gonna wear it on his sleeve. Wow, man. So, remember how the previous stream I said our average view duration was a lie? It said like 28 seconds or something like that. Well, this stream where we have, like, you know, where this person is lying about the views, on this stream it literally says the view duration is 5.5 minutes. So again, on the stream where I was supposed to very obviously get thousands of views prior to this, again, similar topic, similar name and everything, and then we do another stream the very next day, and then conveniently the bitrate shifted around all over the place, and I have said this is what's doing this. And yeah, conveniently we see the evidence. We see we don't get the concurrence in here. The lies, where they were sitting here doing this all night to affect the trending. You see it. It's a scam. It's a lie. They did it. And I'm looking at it right now. Average view duration 5.5 minutes, and there's like literally no views on here. There's like nothing. Because again, they're just lying about anybody that's coming in here. As soon as all these people come in here, they start shifting the bitrate around all over the place. So it's a lie. And meanwhile, all these people are probably in here. So, well, you know, like, if you're in here, you have to leave and come back in the stream. So if you see that nonsense happen, and I'm talking about that, if you could do me a favor and just, like, sort of come, like leave and come back in the stream. We could possibly, like, get ahead of this, because, you know, again, it's super obvious. Again, I go in the swipe feed and I come in the stream, and so, like, the point is, like, we have had examples of, like, times where they're hiding the number, and 365 will start talking, but it's obvious he's been in here a half an hour, and it just said 0 as the concurrent. So the point is, if you guys show up in the numbers and you talk and stuff like that, that can't happen. They can't, you know, like, there's a hard time doing that. Because there you are. So that's definitive proof on a stream where we almost got thousands. And the last 2 hours, we got nothing. We got all those hundreds of views, almost 900 views, and they're trying to stop that. And literally, like, we got all that in the first, like, hour. Yeah, like, all that was, like, the first couple of hours. First hour was a good bit of it. And that's the point. That last 2 hours where we're just bitrate shifting around and we're talking about that. Yeah. And then you literally see them lying, too. Where it's not like, oh, people not coming in this... Of course there are. It's just YouTube actually types things into their code to detrend your stream if you're talking about YouTube. It's something going on YouTube that makes them look bad. They really do that. So, like, that's the point. Like, while this person is doing it, YouTube does have those things typed into their code. So again, who knows who did that? Maybe it's this person, but YouTube shouldn't be doing that. So I'm just calling out the fact that the average view duration doesn't make any sense. You know, and again, like, it didn't make any sense in that last one either. Where now it's way too high. Now I have the average view duration I should have had on that last stream. Almost like they're trying to make up for it somehow because they know it was a lie. Meanwhile, they're lying about my views. So they do that, but then they lie about my views so I don't get views. So they can't literally just be honest about anything. So that's what I'm calling out with YouTube, where, like, it's too cutthroat. We have all this nonsense going on where, you know, I call out and I report all these porn channels that are showing up and stuff like that, and I'm getting harassed. I'm getting stalked. All this crap's happening to me just because I'm sitting here reporting this stuff and pointing it out. That doesn't make any sense. It's like when you report to YouTube for an entire year and they just don't answer. Just nothing. You know, like, about all the problems, like the first, like, year you're on here or whatever, and they just never answer, never acknowledge you at all. That's weird. That is very odd. Wouldn't that be odd? Would you consider that unprofessional? That's what YouTube does. If you have below a certain amount of subscribers, they do not answer you. There's nothing that says that. There's no thing that says that. People just know that. They just know it. And then, like, at a certain point, then they can't ignore you. So they're always trying to prevent, you know what I mean? Like, create reasons to prevent certain people from getting to that point. Does that make sense? There's a certain somebody's channel who, I'm not going to sit here and talk about whether he was or wasn't toxic. That's whatever. That is what it is. But I at least recognize at a certain point that person's channel, doesn't matter whether he's got over 100,000 subscribers or not. It's wrong to dock him unless you have policies for the things he's doing wrong. You can't just sit here and just be like, oh, it's wrong. Well, that's your definition. No, we're not talking about politics here. We're talking about free speech and YouTube. So again, if you want to have on your platform that you own, that Google owns, if you want to have specific swearing policies or specific toxic policies or something like that, you want to be that ballsy to try to go that route, okay? But again, until that stuff's in there, or whatever it is that we're talking about, you have no right to dock people or literally halt that progress or do these very unknown things and then cause people to doubt themselves, cause people to do things wrong just because they would react and have some sort of reaction to essentially what you're doing that they can't figure out because you didn't just communicate. You just didn't let them get views on that thing. So now maybe they'll, like, change their format or just change something else, and because they didn't get why they didn't get views, they didn't get why you did that. You just did it. You get what I'm saying? You just sort of did it. So that's what it's like on YouTube, where, you know, hey, Stephen Colbert could come to YouTube. He's gonna have a great time. I welcome him too. I hope he does. I think he already sort of is a little bit, and I think he might end up doing some creation, and that's cool. I hope he does, and I'd welcome him. But YouTube will open arms be like, of course you're welcome, because he's gonna have an implicit audience, just like a set audience that comes with him, and they're gonna be like, oh, you can have all the. But meanwhile, while you have somebody that has a channel that's just like endlessly putting together good content, and then like somebody's just harassing them, causing a huge dynamic, and they can't, you know what I mean? Like it's literally like that's going on, somebody else is harassing them, that's going on, and then meanwhile, YouTube actually just sort of kind of doesn't communicate at times and just doesn't tell you certain things and stuff like that, and you don't know. And there's all these people that have figured it out at a certain point. So now the mindset of Asmongold, and again, I don't hold any grudges or anything like that. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I don't care. But the mindset of Asmongold is that you keep this to yourself. You don't tell anybody YouTube does this. You don't, and therefore, they can endlessly just do it. That's how I look at it. If it doesn't get out and these things don't become a commonality where we say that we don't agree with that, it enables the behavior that YouTube thinks that you're okay with this, that it's fine. It's like a club where we don't allow other people in, and they can capitalize on fewer people while taking a bigger cut. If there's more people that come in as a business, they would have to eventually start taking less of a cut, and they know it because more people are coming in faster than what they're making money, and they have to divvy up the resources to deal with those people. So instead of dealing with it, they just go, nope, we're not spending money on that, and it's not really right. So they cause all these problems for everybody else and stuff like that, just flat out. And that's what it's like to be on YouTube as somebody that, you know, would start out and not understand what's going on. But again, somebody that comes on here and has that implicit audience came from something else. You will never experience this. You had an audience, you immediately, again, they'll protect you from knowing about this, because they don't want you to help that person that experienced that. They don't want other people to find out kind of how that dynamic is working. So they're doing a lot of things, I think, to prevent those people from finding out. You know, that's kind of the way the dynamic works on here, where they're just really confusing people that first get started, especially with these channels. The number of times that I watched a content creator put a clickbait thing on here that got so many views, and it said something to the effect of, like, it was a very declarative negative statement that was like, something like news channels are on their way out. Nobody watches news channels anymore, and like just like really declarative statements like that. It's just not the case. Not necessarily, depending on how you do it. And that could be said about almost anything. Like, if you are talented and you have the ability to do these things, people will watch your stuff. That's it. So, like, just making that statement as a content creator and discrediting and making people feel that way as clickbait, being discouraging on the platform, and then he gets all these views. This is what I see as a model going on YouTube, where there's these people claiming to be helpful and stuff like that. They have all these channels, but they're not helpful. It's like the opposite. It's like they're like, oh, don't do this. When you first start on YouTube, don't do this. Or like something like that. It's incredibly unhelpful. And like you watch it and you're like, well, but that's not really right. You told me not to do something, except if I do it this way, it would be correct. You're just wrong. Like, you don't know how to do it, so you're just telling people not to do it. And that's how the entire platform works. And again, people like Asmongold, he has every right to do whatever he wants for his own platform. That's his opinion, that's fine, but they capitalize on this. That's the salesman tactic, where they know more about that trade than you, and they're taking advantage of that, and they know that. So, you know, it's not to sound mean or anything like that. I know I get a... I have to get used to my mic distance at this point. A lot of the way I did this too, so I could have, you know, be closer and stuff like that, as you should be, and you know, depending on the mic. But yeah, for this one, I got to be a certain distance. Yeah, you know, depending on what I'm doing with it, and I definitely wanted it closer, so I have to get used to how close it actually is again. So let me just see something here. I don't really I'll be honest, I don't really see much else. I think this is pretty much like all we really have for now. They're just like sort of reconfirming the same things that I've been saying. Oh yeah, like, and one thing I'll say too is Trump likes to sort of stand there and like hold up like fake graphs and stuff like that. Like he did today. So like he's talking about like maybe it's not even fake, but he like has it reversed, or like he's not talking about it, and like it's made up. You know, like he's just holding up a graph. That's for like pictures. So you have to wonder like what media outlets are so wrong. Like I was saying earlier, that all they're doing is literally using that for a real image of him holding up a graph. The graph doesn't mean anything. It's just there as a visual for this fake news propaganda to lie about whatever Trump's trying to lie about in his own fake news pool. And this is what you have to realize is like, there are credible, bigger media outlets, and then there's all these ones that Trump created. And that's where a lot of folks are getting their information from, is the fake news is for politics is flat out something that Trump started. Again, he didn't create the concept of fake news. He brought it into American politics, though. Remember that. Like, but generally before him, that was the whole point of the stream yesterday. Is that it never existed in American politics before he brought it in there. You know, just generally speaking, people would just be like, well, that didn't happen. That's a misreport. And it would, like, really discredit that organization. And, like, this is why you do that. This is why there weren't so many. Trump did that. That was him. Some of them, you can look it up, he actually funded starting them. And they all just lie for him. And again, that's the stuff that people are subscribed to. And then you see the scams where there's actually services people can pay money for, where it limits their Google searches to just this stuff. That is a scam. That, like, they're probably selling your data. Like, oh my god. And then, like, you get, like, have you ever seen the scam texts that you get, too? That talk about, like, the border. Oh, the Dems are trying to push a last-minute thing. The immigrants on the border. You ever get that? Man. Why is it so scammy? And yet all that stuff, like, I can sit here and I can just look it all up from all the credible media outlets that have been reporting all this time, when it was great and when it wasn't, and stuff like that. And meanwhile, now, all you have is just a whole bunch that just anything Trump says, they're just back it up, even if they have to take it back later and create some random nonsense. I remember I saw this clip of this guy. I don't even know much about him, but like I was watching somebody talk about him, and like this guy has like this talk show, I guess, in the morning, where like he's like really like conservative or something. He claims to be. He's not actually, and he's talking about how, like, all this stuff with Trump, you know, like how, like, he would just be tired if he was dealing with all of it, you know, and he's giving Trump a pass on, like, certain things because, you know, he would just be tired, you know. And that was what he was saying. That was, like, his big revelation, is that, well, if Trump's acted like that, man, you know, that's unfortunate, but, you know, I just have to rationalize that, you know, his hectic schedule, I'd be really tired, you know, and that's what he was saying. It's like, oh. So wait a minute, wait. So Trump is old. He does get tired, like Biden did. So you're confirming this. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. So he's human. Got it. Okay, like, the point is, he has an administration. He has people that are supposed to do the jobs, and they're clearly not. How many people now are texting war plans? And we know people can see text messages. They can see them. This country is under attack. They can see all kinds of stuff. And the breaches are happening literally because Trump's an idiot. That's it. Like, you have to come to this conclusion. It's not something where I'm trying to insult the guy. No, he's proven this over the course of all this time. He has been an idiot and done idiotic things. That's it. I mean, How many things can I say that Obama did? And then Trump just tried to take credit for the thing Obama did that he got rid of that was good. Remember, he gets rid of something Obama did and then tries to take credit for it because, again, remember, that was a good thing. And then he got rid of it. So that's, where you have to recognize that you can't follow, again, a cult where somebody is never wrong. Like I said earlier, it's just all about being wrong over and over and over. With anybody that supports that. Can't admit you're wrong about something. And typically, I have found that with these folks, typically, yeah, that is the issue. They have trouble admitting they're wrong with other stuff too. Like I can admit I'm wrong with stuff. But like if I know about it, yeah. Obviously I don't. And so that's where they think they know all these, like, that's the point. They don't, and they're afraid that, to admit after all this time of being in denial, sort of lying and stuff like that for Trump, they're afraid that people are, gonna call them out on the rest of their lives and never let them forget it. Cause I feel like people would feel like trying to do that. And that is people's fear, is they're afraid that's going to happen where, people aren't going to let them forget that. And, that's where I think you're wrong. I think they would if you proceeded to continue changing that viewpoint and allowing yourself to accept the new information. That's all. For how long are we going to sit here and just say the same things that have never changed about what we've said? Yet, anybody that backs up Trump, they just keep changing everything. Well, that's not a fact. That's you changing the information. That's not information anymore. That's just made up fake news. Right? Yeah. Okay. Now we've done this. We've done this before, but I wanted to do this again. For you guys. So, here we go. We're gonna do this.
Here are several notable accomplishments from President Biden's term that positively impacted the country, and that former President Trump has at times taken credit for, despite having inherited or built on them. Military recruiting surge. Surge initiated under Biden. The Biden administration launched the Future Soldier Preparatory Course in August 2022, along with recruitment, marketing, and leadership initiatives, reversing a steep decline. The Army exceeded its fiscal 2024 goal, and the highest monthly recruiting surge in recent years occurred in August 2024, before Trump's November win. Trump falsely claimed the boost was solely his. Non-partisan fact-checkers awarded him 3 Pinocchios.
Yeah.
Insulin pricing cap. Permanent cap via the Inflation Reduction Act, 2022. Biden's legislation limited Medicare insulin costs to $35 a month, benefiting 3.3 million seniors. A structural change. Site turn search 28. Trump, in comparison, only implemented a temporary pilot program with very limited scope. Site turn search 28. Lowest black unemployment rate. Record low under Biden. In April 2023, black unemployment dropped to 4.8%, surpassing Trump's 2019 low of 5.3%, marking a sustained improvement. Site turn search 28.
Yep, there we go.
Massive infrastructure and industrial policy. Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act 2021. Bipartisan $1.2 trillion investment in roads, bridges, transit, broadband, water, and more.
Infrastructure.
Site turn search 21st. Chips and Science Act, Aug 2022. Over $50 billion to bolster U.S. semiconductor manufacturing, strengthening national security and reducing reliance on overseas supply chains. Site turn search 24, turn search 3, turn Reddit 25, turn Reddit 27. Inflation Reduction Act 2022. Nearly $500 billion for climate initiatives, clean energy tax credits, Medicare drug price negotiation, and more. Site search 20, turn search 3, turn Reddit 27, turn row search 1. Trump has sometimes portrayed such large-scale investments as bipartisan or even as results of his policies, but these were uniquely Biden's initiatives.
Yep.
Economic recovery and job growth. Record-breaking job creation. Biden oversaw creation of 16 to 17 million jobs, the highest for any single-term U.S. president.
Wow.
Along with 18 consecutive months of unemployment below 4%. Site turn search 19, turn Reddit 29, turn search 7,
Biden
turn
sounds
search
pretty
24. Good. Strongest G7 recovery. Post-COVID, the US led G7 nations in GDP growth, unemployment reduction, and household net worth. Site turn search 19, search 22, turn search 3. Foreign policy and national defense. AUKUS Pact, Sept 2021. A trilateral alliance with Australia and the UK to counter China's influence. Site turn News 7, turn search 19. Expansion of NATO. Finland and Sweden were brought into NATO under Biden's leadership. Site turn search 19. Targeted counter-terrorism actions. Executed raids and drone strikes that eliminated ISIS and Al-Qaeda leadership.
Wow.
Al-Qurashi and Al-Zawahiri.
Sounds pretty
19.
like a pretty good president.
Support for Ukraine and Israel. Biden mobilized over $100 billion in aid to Ukraine and coordinated humanitarian ceasefires in Gaza. Site turn, search night summary. Table, policy area, Biden accomplishments. Trump's credit and Gujan enlistments before Trump. Military recruiting. Launched prep programs. Surge in enlistments before Trump. Claimed surge began under his leadership. Insulin price relief, 35-month cap under Inflation Reduction Act. Claimed credit for broader implementation.
Yeah.
Black unemployment, 4.8% in April 2023, record low. Claimed original lowest unemployment. Infrastructure and climate funding. $1.2 trillion
Yeah, so
infrastructure.
what it's doing
CHIPS
here
Act,
is it's
Inflation
saying what
Reduction Act,
Trump
implicitly
claimed.
claimed these as Trump-inspired.
Yeah, like he's
Economic
claiming that
recovery,
all this
16
stuff is
17
his,
M
but
jobs
it's actually
created,
Biden.
strong G7 economic rebound, took credit for the recovery phase. Foreign policy,
All
AUKUS,
this.
NATO expansion, counter-terrorism, Ukraine aid, misattributed to Trump's international policies.
So that's like the summary.
While some of these efforts built on or responded to the situation left by Trump, Biden not only initiated many of them, but also oversaw their passage, funding, and implementation. Let me know if you'd like deeper breakdowns on any specific policy. Happy to dive in. Navlist, key news on Biden versus Trump credit claims, Turn News 13, Turn News 7, Turn News 8 Tan.
And then, of course, we have the one for everything that Trump was trying to take credit for that Obama did too. We have, like we've been doing this for a while.
Absolutely. Here's a detailed list of notable accomplishments or trends from Barack Obama's presidency that Donald Trump claimed credit for, despite their origin during the Obama administration. Major Obama-era achievements. Trump took credit for 1. Declining unemployment rate. What Obama did, inherited an economy with the Great Recession, 2009, with 10% plus unemployment. Under his administration, unemployment steadily dropped to 4.7% by January 2017. What Trump claimed, Trump frequently said he created the greatest economy in history, ignoring that he inherited an already strong labor market trend from Obama. Job growth. What Obama did. Over 11.6 million jobs were added during Obama's presidency, especially after 2010. What Trump claimed, he took full credit for the job growth continuing into 2017-2019, despite the same growth trend having started years earlier. Hasher 3. Stock market growth. What Obama did. From 2009 to 2017, the Dow Jones Industrial Average nearly tripled. S&P 500 and Nasdaq also saw historic growth. What Trump claimed, Trump often said the market was booming like never before, implying his policies caused it, while much of the post-crisis rebound had already occurred under Obama. Veterans Affairs reform. What Obama did, signed the VA Access, Choice and Accountability Act in 2014 to address delays in veteran care. What Trump claimed, Trump repeatedly stated, "I got VA choice," though it was passed under Obama. Trump later signed an update to the law in 2018, the VA Mission Act, which built on Obama's legislation. 5. Auto industry bailout. What Obama did. Approved $80 billion in loans and bailouts in 2009 that saved GM and Chrysler. The industry rebounded strongly by the mid-2010s. What Trump claimed, later boasted about the success of American auto companies, suggesting it stemmed from his actions, though he played no role in the recovery. 6. NATO defense spending. What Obama did. In 2014, NATO allies agreed to increase defense spending to 2% of GDP by 2024, an Obama-era negotiation. What Trump claimed. Trump said he got NATO countries to pay more, though the increases had already been agreed to before his presidency. 7. Energy independence, oil and gas production. What Obama did. US oil production nearly doubled between 2009 and 2016 due to domestic shale and fracking growth. What Trump claimed, often said he made the US energy independent, when the US had already become the world's #1 oil and gas producer under Obama. Has rate pre-existing condition protections. What Obama did. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, prohibited insurers from denying coverage for pre-existing conditions starting in 2010. What Trump claimed. He said he saved pre-existing condition protections despite supporting lawsuits and bills that would have weakened or eliminated them. 9. Manufacturing jobs recovery. What Obama did. After the Great Recession, over 900,000 manufacturing jobs were added during Obama's last 6 years. What Trump claimed. Trump often said he brought back manufacturing, ignoring that the sector was already rebounding under Obama. 10. Budget deficit reduction. What Obama did. Though the deficit was large early on due to recession-related stimulus, It dropped from $1.4 trillion in 2009 to $585 billion by 2016. What Trump claimed fiscal discipline, even as his tax cuts and spending hikes caused deficits to rise again, nearing $1 trillion before COVID. Bonus, Iran nuclear deal and foreign affairs. Trump often took credit for isolating Iran economically, even though many of the sanctions and pressures came under Obama's Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, and international coalition building. Summary. Claimed by Trump, actually done by Obama, came under Obama's Joint Comprehensive. Unemployment drop fell from 10 to 4.7% under Obama. Booming job market, steady growth after 2010, 11M plus jobs added before Trump took office. Stock market rise, Dow nearly tripled during Obama years. VA Choice Act, signed by Obama in 2014. Auto industry recovery, rescued via 2009 bailout and restructuring. NATO defense spending increases, negotiated and agreed to under Obama in 2014. US oil independence, US became top producer under Obama. Pre-existing condition protection, key feature of Obamacare ACA, passed in 2010. Manufacturing resurgence, strong rebound from 2010 to 2016. Budget deficit improvement, dropped sharply from post-recession peak. If you'd like, I can also break this into a downloadable or printable format, or compare it to Biden's and Trump's actual records. Just say the word.
That, again, was the stuff, the list of things, a list of things, not even just necessarily all of it, but a big list of things that Obama actually accomplished that Trump tried to take credit for. Despite whether or not Trump then later got rid of those things or tried to. So let me just see if there's any updates here. So basically, again, the DC situation is another situation where Trump is wrong. We all know it. There's no emergency. That's why I'm talking about all this. That's why, like, I bring up all these things Trump tried to take credit for that he was wrong about and stuff like that. He just kind of makes stuff up. And the whole point is that I really genuinely hope people are starting to see it. I've been trying to say this for a long time, but again, let me see if there's anything here. Okay. Yeah, again, what's happening isn't necessarily legal, but again, he gave himself more power than the president's ever had. Took credit for that too, and again, this is heading towards the wrong type of government for us, where we've seen this pattern before with him. And we've also seen it in history before, too. And we don't want to repeat that here. So anyway, I do need to get some things done. I have to do some things. And again, take note of how many views we had on that last stream, going from that one to this one, and just know, you know, like that we had no normal trending, and then that person was in here pretty regularly, shifting the bit rate and hiding their view. And that's what they're doing. They're doing that so they can hang out in the stream and hide their view. Meanwhile, I lose trending because they want to be in the stream. That Russian is trying to be in the stream when he's not even supposed to be allowed to see it. So that's why he was trying to get me to stream with a VPN, because it would be easier for him to have done that, if you remember when he was trying to do that. So just a heads up, like, that's not necessarily the answer anymore. Yeah, like, I've noticed that oftentimes if I get a product anymore, that product then gets breached. The very second, just like I said, I used that AI app for an entire year, and nothing was going wrong with it. And all of a sudden, after calling him out for who he exactly was last night, that app then proceeded to be completely broken, like just a random AI app that I was using to prove that he's harassing me, like to try to send a message. Like literally all he's gonna do is cause that company to have a problem with their app. Like, it literally means that it just got breached, and now that data is there. So, like, he's just causing all these different things to break and get breached. So that's why a lot of this is happening, and like I said, he did it. That's what happened with Windows, all the other stuff that happened over the years where all those weird things happened. That's it. Because again, their traffic is so unencrypted and malicious. You know, that's why everything's blocked. You know, they quite frankly are not really should not be allowed, like, to see my streams at all. But, you know, the current administration. So anyway, take note of the massive drop in views from yesterday's stream to this one, and the fact that the bitrate was shifting around. And a good majority of our views in yesterday's stream were not over the course of the 8 hours. They were in the first few. So take note of that. And thanks for watching.